This is a couple minutes after I stopped filming. It's just, oh, that was a really hard video to film. Now I don't know what to do with myself. Because I don't want to edit it right now. I just don't want to do anything. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Areej if you're new, and this video is part 2 of my story time about what happened when my parents, my Pakistani Muslim parents, found out about my white non-Muslim boyfriend. Actually, you should watch the first video or else you probably won't know what's going on in this one. I will link it either here or here, I don't remember where, and in the description as well. So yeah, watch that first and then come back here and watch this part. Alright, so where we left off, it was Thanksgiving weekend, my first break back of second year of university, and I was caught in a lie. I told my parents that I was going back to school on the Monday, which was the day that this was all taking place. But instead, I was actually not going to be going back to Kingston that day. I was going to be going to my boyfriend's house, chilling with my friends in Toronto, and then going back to Kingston with my housemate Haley Tuesday, which is the next day. So the story left off when I was in the car after my parents found out that there was no bus coming for me. I had no ticket, and we walked back to the car in the parking lot and we closed the door. Alright, so it was just immediate yelling ensued. Immediately. It was like, what you taught, like what did you just, can't believe you made us go through this, like I can't believe you lied. Like it was just, I obviously don't remember the exact dialogue, but it was just a lot of yelling and screaming about how I betrayed them by lying. How dare I lie to their face like that? They were really angry, for sure. Like they were, I've been yelled at my parents a lot throughout my life, but it was never a situation that intense. My parents were both in the front seat of the car, and me and my sister were in the back, and I was just sitting there, just looking down, just taking it. I don't think I was saying anything because there wasn't really anything to say. I was just taking the verbal assault. Just, it was a barrage of insults and like, you know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know exactly what they were saying, but it was not great language. Anyway, they are talking and talking. They're arguing with each other because my dad's like blaming my mom for ruining me, you know, like not raising me right, giving me too much freedom so that I have the audacity to lie to them like this. And then obviously about I wasted so much of their time, like going to the bus station. We actually were waiting there for like an hour, and I definitely did waste their time, but it is what it is. And meanwhile, my poor little sister Dua, she's sitting next to me just like, nothing to say, nothing to do. There's the only way out is through, basically, at this point. And obviously I was like, I mean, the anxiety kind of went away, I think, at this point, because the worst, like, they found out, so now I was just in it. And I guess I was just, I don't know, I was just trying to make it through. I don't know, I was just waiting it out, I guess. We didn't like start driving, we were still parked, and everyone was just, it was bad. It was just terrible yelling, screaming match, whatever. My parents were yelling at me, I mean. Okay, anyway, and within that yelling sequence, someone, I don't remember if it was my dad or my mom, maybe my dad, who was like, do you have a boyfriend? Is there a boy involved? And I remember hearing that and pausing, and in my head thinking, okay, this is it. It can't get any worse than this. There's no possible way for them to be more angry than they are in this moment at me. I also am really tired of feeling anxious. I'm really tired of being dishonest. I'm sick of lying. I don't want to lie anymore. Maybe I'll just tell them. And before I could think about it any further, I just went yes. So even though this whole situation didn't have anything to do with Garrett, I mean it did, but to them it didn't. It was just, they were mad not because they knew about my boyfriend. They were just mad because I'd lied to them like that. I just said yeah. And then my dad continues to yell at my mom more. She's like, I knew it, like you guys both knew it, did you know? My mom starts crying, I'm crying, Dua's probably crying, I don't even know, like it's just hectic. Oh, it was bad. And anyway, I think at some point my dad like turned the car on when he started driving. He's like, we're gonna go home right now. I'm gonna call your uncle, your aunt, your grand, like basically they're calling my extended family, being like, just see what happens when you get home. Like, just wait till we get home, okay? And I was just like, I still had my phone, so I guess I was texting Garrett like while this was all happening. And he was obviously really worried. And so was I. I didn't know what the heck was gonna happen to me once I got home. Like, this situation had never happened. This was the day I thought I was gonna, like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was just like, well, it's out now. It's out. I don't think I gave them any details about who it was or where I met, but I think they knew who it, well, my mom knew who it was because I obviously talked about him a lot to my mom, just like as a friend. And also my dad had actually met Garrett once before. I think the previous year, like once at a bus station, I was just like, once we were going to Kingston, we were on the same bus and I was like, oh, this is my friend Garrett. And I think he shook my dad's hand. So my dad, I guess, was like, oh, that's the only guy I ever saw Reach with, so that must be him. And I mean, he was right, but yeah, so he's like, I knew it, I knew that was the guy, I knew there was something gone this whole time, like, you picked up our daughter, like, you didn't raise her right, look at her, she's all messed up now what are we gonna do? Like, they were talking about, like, dying and how this is the end of the world. They were really, really upset. If you're brown, you know exactly the type of upset they are. Like, it's just, it's chaos. It's chaos. Okay, so we're driving home, I guess, and someone calls my uncle. I don't know what they said. They just told him to come over. I don't think they told him what happened on the phone. They were just like, oh, it's an emergency, like, come to our house, like, we'll meet you there or whatever. Okay, here's where it gets kind of blurry because, I don't know, I might have blocked some things out. But basically that was around 12 p.m. Okay, so around 12 p.m. we're driving home. And I'm obviously in my pants, like, what the f is happening to me now? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I honestly don't know what I was doing. I was probably just sitting there silently, just not saying anything, just listening to whatever they were saying. I wasn't fighting back or anything. I was just like, okay, well, see what happens now. So we're in the car and like everyone's just freaking out, whatever. I feel like they were saying stuff to me about how Garrett's probably controlling me as a puppet, and like, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like him trying to get me away from my family. Like, I don't know, stuff like that, just like kind of, I feel like that was said. Anyway, we get home and my uncle's there. It's like kind of a confrontation is being staged. So at this time, my mom and my dad are still yelling at me like they just continue to do so. But my uncle is trying to be like the good cop. They're doing like the good cop, bad cop routine. Like, while my parents are yelling at me, my uncle's trying to talk to me more calmly, things like that, which at the time I was really grateful for, because I was just like, I was tired of being yelled at. But the number one technique everyone was using, they were trying to guilt me. I think one of my aunts came. I don't remember if anyone else was there. It was my uncle, my aunt, my parents. I think my sisters may have been upstairs, but I think maybe they went to my grandparents' house, like my grandma's house or something. I have no idea. But Anyway, they were trying to guilt me, my mom was saying stuff to me like, your dad's gonna divorce me now, like our lives are over, you ruined this for everyone, we are never gonna recover from this. And just saying, and then saying stuff like, you know, this relationship isn't real, right? Like, this guy's just gonna leave you. Like, that's what these people do. They just have these relationships and they just use girls however they want. They play with their feelings, play with their emotions, and then leave. And they were just trying to convince me that Garrett was a terrible person and that I was making a huge mistake. I was being tricked by him, and what I knew was that wasn't true. Because Garrett and I luckily had such a strong relationship. I knew him so well because we had been spending every single day together for the past year. So I knew that none of that was true, but it was still hard. If people around you keep saying that stuff to you, it starts to settle in and you still feel like, oh, what if that's true? So yeah, that was happening. I was getting guilted, like, oh, you have so many younger sisters. I have 3 younger sisters, and then I have a lot of younger female cousins. So people were saying how now everyone, all of my younger cousins are also gonna act really badly, and it's gonna be all my fault because I ruined it all for everyone. And yeah, just a lot of like, you're the worst person ever, how could you do this to us, how could you be so selfish, like how, it was just the best way I can describe it is it was emotional torture. It seriously was. I was crying my eyes out throughout this whole thing while I was getting yelled at. So we got home around like 12 or something. Like that day didn't end till like 11 p.m. and I was crying straight for that long while people were telling me that I didn't know what I was doing, that I was stupid, that I'd made a huge mistake, that I've ruined my life, etc. So anyway, a couple hours go by and my family is saying things like, honestly, I don't remember the sequence of events or anything like that, but I don't remember how it led to this, but at one point they presented me with an ultimatum telling me that I had 2 choices from that point. So my first option was to break up with Garrett, never see him again, transfer my university to like York or U of T or Ryerson or something and not go to Queens anymore, live at home and basically still be a part of the family. Or I could stay with Garrett and pretty much get the frick out and get disowned right then and there. In that moment, I was like, I'm out. All I want to do is get out of this situation. Why would I want to stay in a place where this is how I'm being treated? For doing like, I didn't kill anyone. I didn't do anything morally wrong. I just happened to be in a relationship with someone that they didn't want me to be in a relationship with. So I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm not gonna first of all, let alone like the relationship. First, obviously I'm not gonna break up with Garrett, because out of all of this, I knew that was the one thing that I was still like holding on to. It was like, he's the only thing I have now. My family's like, I can't trust them. I'm never gonna have the same relationship with them ever again. And he's all I have. But even regardless of that, it was also like, I'm not moving to Toronto. I'm not gonna stop my education at Queens, I'm not gonna stop it in the middle of my degree to move back to Toronto to live in prison, where I felt like now that all of this had happened, like the rules would be way tighter. I was like, I'm not gonna, why would I do that? So I said, yeah, I'm leaving. Okay, fine, I'm leaving. Through tears, obviously, but I said, yeah, okay, bye. And I don't think they thought that I was going to say that. Okay, also here's the thing. I feel like I have to put a disclaimer on this because if you're someone who is South Asian, this is just the culture, okay? This is what happens to the majority of people. It's like their parents, the way that South Asian parents see their kids is not the same as Western parents see their kids. The South Asian parents see their kids in more of like from the perspective of this is my kind of my property, like I gave birth to you, so now I own your entire life, therefore you have to do what I say. And it's just how they were raised. They didn't know how to deal with a situation like this. They didn't think that they would ever be the people who would be facing such an issue. Like they had heard of this happening to other families, but obviously it could never happen to them, and it was just panic mode. So this is all said under that context, and it's not like I'm giving excuses to them, but I'm just trying to help you understand that it's not necessarily that my parents are just terrible people. They're not. It's just the society that they were raised in. This is what they were told to do in such a situation. This is what they heard other people do in such situations. It was a normal thing to do, basically. So anyway, back to the ultimatum. I said, okay, I'm leaving, and they didn't expect me to say that. They were just kind of using it as a scare tactic or something, just to show how serious they were about this whole thing. But when I said, fine, I'll leave, and I chose the option they didn't want me to choose, they didn't know what to do, and they asked me to like write it on a piece of paper just to like be 100% confirmed. So I wrote on a piece of paper like my I read whatever, like I'm choosing this I don't even know what I wrote, but yeah, it was just, I don't know, I think it was just their way of trying to give me a second chance to fix my answer. But yeah, so from there I signed the piece of paper. And then I don't know what happened after that. I think everyone just kind of dispersed, and everyone went quiet. I think my extended family went home, and my mom was just started making dinner as usual. I don't know where my dad went. I think he left the house as well. Everything just went silent. And at this time I was messaging Garrett, trying to figure out if I was actually leaving. Like, am I actually leaving right now, or is it just a like what's going on? I don't know. And we were trying to figure that out. No one really talked to me. I was just crying my eyes out in the living room. It was really painful. And then a couple hours later, they got my cousin, who's older than me. She was probably about 27 or so at the time, I don't remember, whatever. She was much older than I was. She was born and raised in Canada, so they brought her in as reinforcements to try to talk some sense into me from, I don't know, they thought that she could help because she grew up with similar experiences as I did, and she could get through to me. Anyway, she came, and I was crying my eyes out still, and she asked me if I wanted to go on a drive with her, and I said no, I don't want to. I'm just gonna stay here. I'm just gonna frickin' stay in this one spot and just not eat, not drink, just die in this one spot, because that's how I felt. Somehow she got me out into the car, and that was the first time me and her had a conversation about anything like this. Like, although my cousin had grown up in this country, I mean, everyone's living double lives to some extent. Like, as a South Asian person, you're a different person to your family, and you're a different person outside. And I was part of her family, so she wasn't gonna ever expose, well, not that she did anything wrong, but I'm saying like she didn't want to expose her perspectives on things to me. So I got in the car with her somehow, and I had no idea what her perspective was. Like, I knew she grew up in this country, but I had no idea what her experiences are, because we just weren't open like that. But she was the first person that really offered me some support, which I am so grateful for, because it was like the first time that day that I was able to stop crying. Like, she really helped me get out of that terrible emotional state, and I will forever be grateful to her for that. But at the same time, like, she didn't really know what to do in the situation either, because she had never been in that situation. Like, her best advice to me was just like what she knew. Like, she knew that obviously if I go home and I tell my parents that I won't see him anymore as a boyfriend, like, I'll break up with him and we'll just remain friends, then things will settle down. So that's what the advice she gave me. But I remember being really angry and being like, why would you say that to me? Because I just went through this whole traumatic experience today after telling them about Garrett. Why would I go back on that? Like, I just didn't see myself going back on that. And I think I expressed that to her, but she was doing her best. Like, she was trying to look out for my best interest. So I really don't blame her at all. But yeah, in the moment it helped, but later on I felt really lost again, because I obviously wasn't going to do what she was saying. But oh my god, also, she was so nice to... She let me see Garrett. She drove me to Garrett's house. I saw him for like 5 minutes or something. Forever grateful for that as well. Thank you so much if you're watching this. Like, you really helped me that day, and I'm like, she couldn't help me figure out what to do because her life experience was different from my own. But in the moment, she helped me like return back down from a really terrible emotional state. So I'm not sure what happened after that. I think I just went home. After talking to her, I was a lot calmer, and although I was still angry and upset later, even that why she was advising me such a thing, but to her it made sense, and I guess it makes sense in general, but to me it just didn't, because of everything that I had went through that day. If I told my parents that I was gonna break up with him, it would have all been for nothing basically, and it's not like I was actually gonna break up with him, so I would have just had to go through all this again at some point in the future. So when I got home, maybe I said something, maybe I didn't, I don't know, but who knows. Blocked, the memory is just not there. I think that night after I got home, all I can remember is that I went to sleep, or I tried to go to sleep. I think I was messaging Garrett throughout the night, just like checking in on each other, because he felt he was going through a hard time too, just feeling super powerless in the situation. Like, he wanted to help me, but he really couldn't. There was nothing he could do. He was just had to watch from afar, like watch me suffer, and that was really hard for him, but obviously harder for me. But yeah, so we went to sleep. The next morning, at this point I also didn't know if I was gonna be allowed to go back to Kingston the next day with Haley. I had a test that week on Thursday. I think the next morning, like, I was talking to my parents, and everything was a lot calmer the next morning. And my parents, I remember having a talk with them in there. They were a lot more friendlier, and I guess they realized that anger and insults and guilting wasn't really going to be the thing that was going to resolve the situation. So I'm sure they regretted some of what they had said, and I don't remember all the details of that morning conversation, but it was along the lines of like, if you are meant to be with this person, no one can stop you, not even not us. If God wants you to be with him, then there's nothing we can do. But they're like, we understand that he's your best friend, we can't really make you not see him again, but you have to kind of work with us or something. Like, there has to be some sort of compromise. I don't remember what we settled on. Basically, I was just so out of it. I just wanted to get out. I told them that I had a test, and they knew that they weren't gonna keep me there. Like, if they couldn't keep me there, if they tried to keep me there, I would just leave myself. So I guess they just accepted that, and the next day they let me go back to Kingston with Haley, and Garrett, I think, was also in the car with us. I don't know if my mom knew, but yeah. We got back to Kingston, And yeah, that's the end of that day. Luckily, it ended not horrifically, but tensions were very strong after that. My relationship with my parents was not the same. For the next couple of months, we all ignored it. I think I went home for Christmas or something. I don't even know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but I did talk to my parents after that, but it was very minimal. And it was just hard to recover from that for me and them both. But I stopped asking them for anything. Like, I didn't get any financial support from them after that, nothing. It was just, I knew that after that point it was like, although I didn't physically get disowned, like I was on my own, I didn't feel comfortable asking them for anything anymore, because that would give them some form of power over me. And yeah, but yeah. The next development in the story is going to be another story time video that I will make at some point. When it is made, I'll link it in the description. And in this video, it was going to be an event that took place the following summer after this happened. So I was in second year. It was like October of second year when this whole thing happened, and then the summer after second year is when the next advancement in the story occurred. So yeah, so that's the end of my story. If you know of anyone who is going through something similar right now, or has gone through something similar, maybe share this video with them, because it is so helpful to hear that you're not alone. When I was going through all this, I didn't know, there was no one that I could talk to. I couldn't trust anyone. I just felt like I was the only one that had ever experienced such a thing, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have any foresight and like nothing. I didn't know what the future was gonna look like for me if I did certain things. All I could do was follow my gut instinct. But when you hear other people's stories of similar situations, you kind of see how your own story can progress. You know, how it's not a dead end, you're not gonna die. Like, it might be painful, but there's ways out of your situation. You're not hopeless. It's just really beneficial. So yeah, that's it. That's my message. Look out for the next storytime video. I'm not sure when I'm gonna make it yet, but just subscribe to my channel. You'll get the notification at some point when I make it and upload. So yeah, thank you for watching. My name is Areej again, and see you soon.